Sagittarius, you're overwhelmed by post-divorce finances. Gain freedom insights. When freedom meets the price tag, there's a silence that follows separation. Not the kind that soothes, but the kind that hums with numbers. Receipts, rent notices, tuition reminders, each one whispering, freedom comes at a cost. For the Sagittarius woman, who once saw independence as a wild and exhilarating birthright, midlife divorce can deliver a reality that feels less like liberation and more like standing barefoot on cold ground. The vision of open skies gives way to spreadsheets and survival plans. And in that space, her fiery optimism flickers against the winds of uncertainty. Statistically, up to 75% of divorces are initiated by women. Many by those seeking emotional authenticity, not rebellion. Yet, in the quiet aftermath, the truth settles like dust. Even the strongest idealists must meet the material world head-on. Single parenting magnifies this tension. Freedom and duty pulling in opposite directions. A Sagittarius woman can navigate continents, but navigating taxes, insurance, and the price of groceries after separation can feel like an entirely different galaxy. Still, the stars whisper what logic forgets, that loss and liberation are two sides of the same coin. Jupiter, your ruling planet, expands what it touches. Even in chaos, it offers perspective, a chance to redefine abundance beyond dollars and digits. The cosmic question isn't how much have I lost, but how can I grow from this? As the universe rearranges your life, you are being asked to rediscover faith. Not blind faith, but the steady kind that rebuilds from the inside out. To trust that the freedom you fought for isn't gone. It's transforming. Every bill paid is a declaration of independence. Every plan made, a new constellation forming above your path. So breathe, Sagittarius. The same spirit that once sought truth in distant lands now seeks stability within. You're not losing your spark. You're learning how to make it light your home. This isn't the end of your freedom. It's the evolution of it. Chapter 1: The Shock of Reality. When freedom feels expensive. Freedom was supposed to feel like flight, like the first deep breath after years of holding it in. But in the weeks after divorce, Sagittarius, that breath often catches in your throat. The bills arrive before the relief does. The numbers in your bank account become a language you suddenly have to learn to speak fluently, because now every choice carries weight. Every expense, every yes, every sigh. You traded emotional confinement for independence, but no one warned you that independence could feel so heavy. There's a peculiar irony in this chapter of your life. You, the eternal optimist, the explorer who trusts life's timing, now find yourself calculating childcare costs under fluorescent light, wondering when the next paycheck will stretch far enough. It's a humbling human moment, one that strips illusion and reveals raw truth. This is not failure. It is transition. Every Sagittarius knows that the road to discovery begins with disorientation. Across the Western world, countless women walk beside you in spirit. Studies show that 66 to 75% of divorces are initiated by women, yet many of them face unexpected financial instability afterward, especially those in midlife who balanced emotional caregiving with limited savings. In the U.S., where individualism reigns, welfare safety nets are often thin. In much of Europe, state support softens the fall but cannot erase the ache of starting over. Both landscapes remind you of the same truth, that rebuilding is as emotional as it is economic. For Sagittarius, who is ruled by Jupiter, even hardship carries hidden wisdom. You may feel as though the universe has shrunk your horizons, yet beneath the discomfort lies divine mathematics. This is the season of recalibration, learning to budget not just your money, but your energy, your trust, your hope. Retrogrades, particularly those of Venus and Mercury, offer cosmic mirrors during this process. They ask you to look inward at your beliefs about security, self-worth, and dependency. Were you taught that freedom required partnership? That stability meant surrendering control? Retrogrades are not punishments. They are invitations, pauses in time where reflection becomes revolution. Begin simply. On nights when fear hums louder than faith, right? Let your journal become your sacred accountant. Ask yourself, where do I still fear not having enough? And what would financial peace look like for me now? Don't rush the answers. Sagittarius truth comes not as a shout, but as a sunrise, slow, luminous, undeniable. You may find yourself grieving not just love lost, but a lifestyle and identity, the illusion of being taken care of. Yet in that grief lies rebirth. Each bill you pay alone is a quiet triumph, a small ceremony of self-reliance. You are learning to translate freedom into numbers one decimal at a time. Remember, Sagittarius, the universe does not shrink to punish you. It contracts only to prepare you for greater expansion. This financial tightening is not a cage. It's a cocoon. Within it, your strength is recalibrating. Your faith, once directed toward the stars, now roots itself in your own capable hands. Jupiter watches not with pity but with pride. It knows that soon you will understand that abundance was never something you owned. It was something you embodied all along. Chapter 2: Cosmic Accountability. Turning retrogrades into reflection. When the dust of divorce settles and the practical chaos gives way to quiet nights, something subtler emerges: the emotional cost of starting over. Sagittarius, this is where Jupiter hands you not a map, but a mirror. Retrogrades, especially those of Mercury and Jupiter, are not punishments. They are pauses, celestial invitations to step back and examine the story beneath your struggle. During retrograde seasons, the universe asks questions your busy mind often avoids. What does money mean to me now? Where have I tied my worth to someone else's support? What am I truly afraid of losing, the security or the identity it gave me? These reflections can sting. You might realize how resentment toward an ex-partner or fear of scarcity still lingers like smoke in your chest. Yet, Sagittarius, you were never meant to run from discomfort. Your spirit is built to seek truth, even when it trembles. Retrogrades offer a sacred slowing, a time to unclench, to notice the emotional fingerprints behind every decision. Jupiter retrograde, in particular, calls you inward to re-examine what abundance means beyond the material. It teaches that wealth is not the number in your account, but the state of your trust in life's flow. When Jupiter appears to move backward, it's reminding you to align your external goals with your inner philosophy, to ensure your financial rebuilding mirrors your spiritual growth. Begin with honesty. Sit with your fears without judgment. Sagittarius has a gift for blunt truth. Turn that honesty inward. Admit when you feel angry about money, when you miss shared security, when self-reliance feels too heavy. None of this makes you weak, it makes you whole. Healing comes not from pretending to be fearless but from befriending the parts of you that are afraid. You may notice during these cosmic slowdowns how old beliefs resurface. Ideas inherited from family, culture, or past partnerships. Perhaps you were taught that asking for help is failure, or that a good mother sacrifices her own comfort. Retrogrades bring these internalized myths into light, so they can finally dissolve. As you face them, you begin to rewrite your relationship with stability, not as control but as flow. Under a full moon, try this ritual of release. Write down every limiting belief you hold about money, independence, or worth. Fold the paper, breathe gratitude for what these fears once tried to protect, then safely burn it, letting smoke carry those illusions back to the cosmos. Whisper. I release the belief that I am unsafe without control. I trust that what I give returns multiplied. Then turn your gaze toward what you're ready to invite. Create affirmations that reflect expansion rather than scarcity. I am supported by both the seen and unseen. Money flows to me through inspired action. I create stability through wisdom, not worry. As the retrograde ends, so too will this phase of emotional contraction. You'll sense your energy shifting, from gripping fear to grounded awareness. Sagittarius, you're learning that reflection is not the opposite of progress. It is its foundation. Retrogrades slow you down not to trap you but to align your aim. Like the archer before release, this pause ensures that when you finally shoot your arrow forward, it will land exactly where your soul intends. Because true abundance, the kind Jupiter blesses, isn't built on speed. It's built on self-understanding. And you, dear Sagittarius, are learning that your worth has never been measured by what you own, but by how bravely you choose to grow. Chapter 3: Rebuilding the Temple. Practical Paths to Stability. By now, the fear that once kept you awake at night has softened into focus. You've cried, reflected, released, and maybe even laughed again, that Sagittarius spark refusing to be extinguished. Now comes the part your restless soul struggles with most: building structure. For the Sagittarius woman, routine can feel like a cage. Yet here lies the paradox. Structure is the very thing that gives your freedom wings. Rebuilding after divorce is not only about managing money, It's about redefining your relationship with it. For years, you may have associated financial planning with restriction or felt uncomfortable tracking expenses. But in truth, structure is a sacred act of self-respect. It's the daily ritual of saying, I matter enough to plan my own stability. Jupiter's wisdom reminds you that expansion is sustainable only when it has roots, and those roots are your conscious choices. Start small. Create a weekly abundance ritual that blends practicality and spirit. Light a candle, pour yourself tea, and review your finances not with fear, but with curiosity. Ask, what am I grateful for this week? Where did I spend from love, and where from anxiety? Sagittarius energy thrives on meaning, so turn your money management into mindfulness. Every balanced budget becomes an affirmation that you're steering your own destiny. If the process feels overwhelming, remember that freedom thrives in community. Across the world, other Sagittarius women are walking this same path, rebuilding after separation, balancing single parenthood, rediscovering self-worth. Online groups, women's circles, and even social media communities have become modern temples of support. Within these spaces, stories are shared, resources exchanged, laughter rediscovered. Don't underestimate the healing that comes from connection. Jupiter's generosity multiplies through community. The contrast between nations also carries insight. In Europe, where welfare systems provide broader safety nets, women often rebuild within structures of collective care. In the U.S., the path is more individualistic, yet that independence can become a profound spiritual teacher. Whichever environment you inhabit, your Sagittarius adaptability is your compass. You learn to navigate both with resilience, to seek assistance when available, to innovate when it's not. The universe never leaves you without resources. It only asks you to recognize them. To rekindle motivation, tie your goals to adventure, because Sagittarius thrives on purpose, not pressure. Create a freedom fund, even if it begins with a few coins. Label it with your dreams. A solo retreat, a course you've always wanted, or a small home project that brings joy. Watch how this reframing turns saving from burden into blessing. Jupiter responds to enthusiasm. The more you celebrate progress, the faster prosperity expands. Each new moon, write a simple financial intention. Money flows through me with purpose and peace. Each full moon, celebrate what you've accomplished, not just financially but emotionally. Sagittarius healing is cumulative. Every act of care compounds. As you practice consistency, your nervous system begins to relax, your body learning that safety can be self-created. This chapter is not about perfection. It's about rhythm. You will misstep, overspend, or doubt yourself. When that happens, pause, breathe, and recall. Even archers miss their target before they master their aim. What matters is that you keep returning to your center. Each recalibration refines your wisdom, your grace, your grounded independence. In time, you'll look back and realize you've built more than financial stability, you've built sovereignty. Your home hums with calm, your children sense security, and you, Sagittarius, feel something deeper than freedom, peace. The kind that doesn't depend on external stability, but radiates from within, like Jupiter's golden glow anchoring your heart. This is your temple, not made of stone or money, but of self-trust, vision, and daily devotion. And from this place of grounded expansion, your next chapter is ready to rise. Chapter 4: Freedom in the Numbers. Reframing prosperity with Jupiter's wisdom. There comes a morning, quiet, unremarkable, when you open your bank app or your journal and something shifts. The numbers no longer feel like enemies. They're simply reflections of rhythm, evidence of life moving forward. You realize the panic that once gripped your chest has loosened its hold. Sagittarius, this is what healing looks like when it wears practicality. You've crossed the bridge from fear into faith. For your sign, ruled by Jupiter, money is never just math. It's philosophy. It mirrors how much faith you place in life's abundance, how deeply you trust that what you give returns tenfold. To the Sagittarius woman rebuilding her world after divorce, this realization is liberation in its purest form, that prosperity begins not in the wallet, but in the mind. When your thoughts expand, so does your field of possibility. Start viewing every transaction as a conversation with the universe. When you pay for your child's school supplies, it's not depletion, it's devotion. When you invest in a self-care moment or a healing session, it's not indulgence, it's restoration. Jupiter teaches that giving, when aligned with joy, multiplies. The difference between scarcity and abundance isn't how much you have, but how openly you circulate what flows through you. To stay connected to this vibration, try a visualization under the waxing moon. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and imagine Jupiter's radiant golden light surrounding you. Vast, warm, protective. See it flowing through your hands as you manage finances, as you care for your home, as you plan your next step. Each breath expands your confidence. Each exhale releases the old fear that you must earn your worth. Whisper softly, I am supported by both the seen and unseen. My abundance grows as my trust deepens. Sagittarius thrives on meaning, so reframe prosperity as purpose. Ask yourself, what does true wealth mean to me now? Perhaps it's not a certain number, but the ability to choose, to take your child on a small trip, to donate where your heart feels called, to rest without guilt. Freedom, your birthright, has returned, not as rebellion but as choice. You've learned that structure and spirituality are not opposites. They are partners in peace. As you practice gratitude and mindful action, watch how Jupiter responds. Synchronicities begin to appear. Unexpected opportunities, supportive people, gentle signs that confirm you're on the right path. You'll notice that abundance starts flowing in forms far beyond money. In emotional steadiness, creative ideas, and renewed confidence. Celebrate every moment of expansion, no matter how subtle. Write down 3 signs of prosperity each week. A debt reduced, a meal shared, a moment when you felt secure. These acknowledgments weave optimism back into your daily life. Sagittarius energy grows where it is celebrated. Joy is your spiritual currency. And if worry returns, as it sometimes will, place a hand over your heart and remember Jupiter's eternal truth. Expansion always follows contraction. You've already proven your strength through storms. Now your lesson is softer, to allow, to receive, to believe again. The universe doesn't measure your success by the size of your savings, but by the size of your faith. You've learned to trust the cycles, retrograde and direct, scarcity and flow, and to find grace in all of it. You no longer chase freedom outside yourself. You live it quietly every time you choose trust over fear. So look at your numbers again, Sagittarius, and smile. They are not limitations, they are coordinates, marking your journey toward self-sovereignty. You are the archer once more, your aim steady, your vision clear. Jupiter's golden light gleams on your horizon, whispering, abundance was never out there. It has always been within you. The currency of faith. There is a quiet elegance in the Sagittarius woman who has walked through fire and emerged with both grace and grit. The chaos that once consumed her, the late-night financial worries, the exhaustion of solo parenting, the invisible weight of proving she can stand alone, has softened into wisdom. What remains now is not fear, but faith. The kind that doesn't need to shout because it simply knows. Money was never the true lesson. It was the mirror, reflecting where trust had cracked and where it longed to be restored. You've learned that abundance isn't only about what flows into your account. It's the breath you take without anxiety, the peace in knowing you've done enough, the joy of watching your child's laughter echo through a space you built on your own terms. That is wealth. That is Jupiter's magic at work. Your journey was never about perfection. It was about alignment. Each budget meeting, each tearful night, each small victory became a stepping stone back to your center. You've redefined security not as dependency, but as self-trust, not as what's guaranteed, but as what's guided. And now, when you look at your reflection, you see not a woman recovering from loss, but a woman awakening to her own sovereignty. Freedom, as you've come to understand, is not the absence of responsibility, it is the mastery of it. You can hold bills in one hand and dreams in the other without losing your spark. You can provide stability without surrendering your soul. Sagittarius, your spirit was never meant to be confined. It was meant to illuminate, to inspire, to rise, even when the world tells you it's impractical. So tonight, when you stand under the night sky, breathe deeply and let Jupiter's golden aura wrap around you. Feel its warmth infuse your chest with courage. Whisper softly, I am guided, I am grounded, and I am free. Abundance flows to me in ways both earthly and divine. I am enough and more than enough. Let those words settle in your bones. Let them replace every echo of doubt. You've transformed scarcity into sacred stewardship, chaos into calm, fear into faith. This is the new rhythm of your life, steady, glowing, aligned with Jupiter's benevolence. And as the stars shimmer above you, remember, you are not just surviving your story, you are rewriting it. Every choice you make in love, in parenting, in finances is another brushstroke of liberation. The currency of faith, dear Sagittarius, will always yield the richest return. My worth is infinite. My freedom expands through wisdom, not fear. I walk in Jupiter's light, eternally abundant.